long. They needed. So good morning, and this is the main principle. If you really want to work, time means time. I was here at 7:50. Come, beta, come. Morning, beta. Thank God you never been my student. Good morning. Because I never allowed anybody to enter after the time is over. He remembers. Correct? Shuru? When you are at the railway station, train starts moving, you start running, all the examples. And when the train moves, you miss it. So, yesterday we discussed about this research design we were talking about, and we had talked about the title, right?
Yes, sir.
Any query about title?
Ma'am, just one small doubt regarding the same. Till LLM, this is what we've heard, that the title should be as specific as possible.
Yes.
So when we were yesterday, when we were exercising on that, there were, I mean, this is what I could understand from it, that it should give out the details, specific details, yes, but it should be more generalized. Is that the...
It's not question of generalization. See, there is a difference when we talk about particularly social sciences, sociology, psychology. They always use all the variables because they have limited variables, right?
Yes,
Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4. They mention it.
right.
It is their practice that they mention all the variables. But in law, it's not that we are merely focusing on some variables. In law, when research is done, we, no doubt, introduction is in every research. We always focus on what was there in history, what is the international position, and then, because this is legal research, then we must have some law in place. And in case there is no law in place, you are not allowed, then the only option is you propose some law. Then complete drafting of law will be there in your cases. So can you include everything in the...
Not at all.
Then your focal points should be there in the title. In the sense, like, if you want to work on the efficacy of some law, then one word, any synonym of efficacy you have to talk about, you have to mention that particular law. Or you want to discuss any aspect, like on the constitutional side, you merely want to concentrate on right to health. Right to health is right to health. But you will discuss everything, different policies, how changes are there. Then if suppose you want to talk about right to health, particularly because that was the time COVID's time, then you need to mention that also in the title. See, the problem is when you try to get into the details in a title, then what happens?
It restricts
Your
us.
track is lost.
Right.
Your intention is you want to work on noise pollution only. But you are talking about environmental pollution with special reference to noise pollution. That means your focal main central point is environmental pollution. You will only talk about one chapter. I can give you an example. Yesterday we had pre-PhD submissions. The topic was regarding the corrections in the prison, the reforms in the prison, basically, that was. Then, in the objectives, the focus was given on the female inmates. No, that is not depicted. No. Do you understand the difference?
I do, yes.
If you want to work on women prisoners only, then you have to put it in the title. But otherwise, your objective cannot be to test what is the position of women, conditions of women prisoners in the prison. You may have complete chapter, you may have half of the chapter, but unless and until it is mentioned, you cannot. Right?
No, I understand. Thank you.
And that is why, see, you must have noticed in most of the titles we, in law especially, we talk about issues and challenges. Now, what is the reason behind it? You must understand that. We already have law. Irrespective of having the law, still the problem is going on. We don't talk about any need, we don't talk about efficacy. We say these are the issues which are still existing and these are the challenges. That does not mean you don't have to give the background. Because everything, like you want to talk about dowry, Act was passed in 1961, even though amended number of times. But you cannot say evaluation of Dowry Prohibition Act, what will you do? Because now your focal point will be on what issues are prevalent irrespective of the fact that you have the law. Right? Have you followed?
Yes.
Otherwise you get lost. When your thesis will go to the examiner for evaluation, first of all is the title. Is it rightly framed? Or you have lost the track? Like yesterday only somebody was fueling human rights. I said, violations. Now what do you want to say? That already violations are going on and somebody is aggravating it. If somebody is aggravating it, can't you say that this is also violation?
So human rights violation is
This is
sufficient.
human rights violation. Why you want to use such? And here again, because you have raised this question, I must advise you that never use any negative term in your title. Never. You may not like, you may say, you want to say, curse of Sati Pratha. Sociology, psychology, curse of Sati Pratha, and evil of Sati Pratha, a study. What kind of feeling in the mind of reader comes? This is disgusting. Feeling of anguish is there. We don't want that. We want to put forth that what is this system? And if your legal issues involved, whether we have any regulatory preventive measures or not. You may say measures to curb Sati Pratha, a socio-legal studies, a critical studies. You understand?
But ma'am, we actually want to talk the negative aspect of any topic.
That you can. Who stops you, beta? This is the problem. You have to broaden your thinking process. This is with what I started with. Because I know I have done PhD myself. So many scholars have done under my supervision. I know. They come with these issues only. No. We want to refer to this only. Why always negative? There's always a positive side. And sometimes, what happens, you get caught in controversies. क्या पर्पस है आपका? कोई पॉलिटिकल कंट्रोवर्सी खड़ी कर देनी है, कोई सोशल कंट्रोवर्सी खड़ी करनी है, या काम करना, रिसर्च करनी है? It's better. In fact, That is why I, Mr. Jaswal told you, no, one, however this is. If I tell you, if the examiner follows or the supervisor follows this approach, then not possible that in 3 years you'll be able to, or even 5 years, during your lifetime you'll be able to complete your PhD, or any PhD will be cleared. Because we always take, yes, this is your opinion, you have done your work, that is originality. If you have your opinion, you can express that. But you can write. See, same thing you can say in positive manner. Instead of I say don't do it, I can say it's better if you do this way. There's a difference. If I say don't do it, you feel hurt immediately. Oh, my supervisor, whenever we go to him or her, this is the way. Okay, you can do it in a better way, beta. You can add it, beta. तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है कल गाइड बनोगे बेटा सास नहीं बनना मैं फिर बता रही हूँ so be very very careful on that point ठीक है हमेशा पॉजिटिव एस्पेक्ट पे चलो नेगेटिव्स है वो तो आपको बताने क्योंकि when we talk about accuracy you have to bring forth the truth that has to be done right then we come to next step statement of problem क्या होनी चाहिए स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम कभी ऐसे ना निकालो थीसिस और उनको पढ़ो अपनी सबमिट हो जाए तो 6 महीने बाद उसको पढ़ो और if you have kept your first draft then read it know what you do in fact your mind is full of different thoughts and you know your focus is always even when you are writing your statement of problem is on what should be there in statement of problem no conclusions no suggestions no presumptions existing problem कैसे पता चलती है you have your surrounding environment from the surrounding environment you can judge no this is the problem people are busy next door आपके कुछ हो जाता है like if I talk about euthanasia your next door some 70-year-old person is in vegetative state for the last 2 years you have a feeling what is the use of such kind of life why we don't adopt this mercifully so you no the problem is before you one of the aspects of problem is before you and when you're going through the literature case studies you'll come to know about more problems ऐसे आप लोगों को तो प्रॉब्लम ही कोई नहीं है कंप्यूटर में डाला और वो किया हम लोग फाइल बनाया करते थे एक फाइल में अपना वो डाला प्रॉब्लम लिखनी है ना एक प्रॉब्लम डाली भी प्रॉब्लम क्या हो सकती है इसके अलावा और क्या हो सकता है एक फाइल में डालना उसके साथ साथ याद आता था इसकी सजेशन भी क्या होनी चाहिए putting that paper in the another file so this is what you can do on the computer also same time you think but don't write it in statement of problem problems are of different type है ना descriptive problems are there पता क्या होती है descriptive problem क्या होती है what is descriptive problem descriptive क्या होता है you describe something है ना some problems are where you describe the things like if you want to work on the settlement of disputes among the tribal people ना हमें पता है उनका we have constitutional protection to them also their identity their culture everything has to be preserved and maintained तो ये descriptive हो जाएगी ना आपकी problem आप explain करोगे कि this way of style problem no intervention or intervention or later part है, but क्या problem है, right? Then there can be causal problem. Causal problem. You want to work on drugs, issue of drugs. Then you see two things are involved. One is you want to know in which area the maximum consumption of drugs is there. Who is consuming the maximum of drugs? But is it of any use? No doubt we will have quantitative data. But ultimately what we want. Now, see, if we say today we come to know this particular problem has emerged in the society. Not drugs now, becoming very old problem now, any problem. Then first thing is you want to know is it really there, whether it really exists. For that purpose, what is required here? Quantitative method. You need to know, right? Then, of course, if you want to suggest, like we say, there is no law as such dealing with that particular problem, right? Then you have to suggest, but for that purpose, you need to know the causes behind that problem, and because you have to remove those deep-rooted causes. Causes have to be removed. Then causal problem will be there. Some problems are perennial problems going on the continuum. Poverty. Sociologist, psychologist. Now you want to talk about the causes of poverty. So that qualitative study will be there. So this will be, and problem will be causal problem. Right? Got this. Then there can be normative problem. What is normative problem? Norms क्या होते हैं? Some principles. Now we need to evolve some principles when we are dealing with any problem. From legal angle, I can just talk about nowadays we prefer alternate dispute resolution method over adversarial method. है ना ऐसा? आपको यही टेस्ट करना है. So this will be a normative. And nowadays no field is left untouched where we don't talk about happiness. Law में भी लगता है जल्दी कुछ ना कुछ आ जाएगा. Because when we talk about well-being, we cover happiness. Then what is required? क्या? अब क्या करोगे? Psychology, I understand. They'll talk about the causes behind being unhappy. You'll find out. Even sociologists. But law में तो हमें ना causes से कुछ नहीं लेना देना बेटा. We want to have norms for well-being. Management only they'll talk about the level of satisfaction. You are in the job, your job satisfaction, which will be one aspect of happiness. Contentment. Law में कुछ नहीं है ना हमें contentment से. कोई law नहीं बनाया जा सकता कि इससे हमें contentment मिल जाए. Right? So normative problem can be there. Then there can be evaluative problem. Evaluative problem क्या है? I तुमने case exercise नहीं की चलो अब now this is your turn to tell me what is evaluative problem. Just think of anything where you will be talking about evaluative problem.
When we are analyzing a comparative study, where we're conducting a comparative.
Comparative also, but that we take as comparative problem in fact. The problem is totally comparative. Something is existing in your country, something is existing in other country, or sometimes we talk about like if I talk about feticide, then in this particular state of India, this is the maximum prevalent problem. Then if you want to read, then you will need to compare it. If you are working in your own state, then you will be comparing a comparative among different countries. There are also comparative problem. Your focus will not be the reason, because suppose there is some emerging problem in India, we don't have any law, no regulations, then you compare it with other country and we try to borrow the model from other country. Now evaluative, let me know. सबसे आसान है ये.
I'm evaluating the
Any critical
efficiency of law.
बिल्कुल critical analysis.
evaluation of
Especially, see, we have. Anji beta, can
Yes.
you? बोलो.
The very word itself suggests the evaluative.
Evaluation.
There is evaluation also. So value of a person comes into the picture when we evaluate. And when we conduct research, then our value system also affects our research.
Absolutely right. Any example?
For example, if my ideology is that I think from the perspective of ethics of care, for example, then naturally my value is that I want to take care of emotions, compassions. These are the elements which are also very much involved in human beings. So our moral foundations are more or less regulated by our ability to have compassion. So in that sense, if my value is like this, so my ability to research would be likewise. If I think in detached way, just like the things which to be studied like a scientific way in detached sense, then I don't think about emotions. I think a person like object to be treated as
That
scientific.
is objectively, objective evaluation. Any, just mention any topic. I'll just give you 2 minutes, all of you. Think, just 2 minutes.
Assessing the implementation of some law.
बिल्कुल ठीक है.
model analysis of DNA profiling.
सबसे बड़ा एग्जाम्पल है if you are doing research on research ethics. Evaluation. This is evaluation of your work. Then of course implementation. And many a time here we include if the research is philosophical, jurisprudential, or on some practices, then when we are just comparing as well as evaluating different designs, different models, it will be evaluated. Then you can have deductive or inductive methods when you are framing the problem. Who will tell me? तुम्हें बताओगे सब कुछ. Let anybody else speak. ठीक है, तो ठीक है. Generalization, what you do? You start from general to particular. What you do? You, observation of course is required. You go with a presumption. There is a prior presumption. You go with the presumption and then you work. So your presumption may be true, may not be true. Right? But in inductive, when you are from particular to general, then what you do? You don't go with presumption. You don't go with any presumption. You go, you find out, you collect data, you may follow any method, maybe survey method. Now here observation method is always better. You observe and on the basis of your findings, then you go the reverse way. the existing research, your findings, where is the gap, and this is how you have to frame the problem. Right?
Ma'am, can we say that when we are going from generalization to specific things, then we are creating a theory, and when inverse is there, we are just testing a theory?
No. When you are going to general to particular, then you have a theory. You have a theory, you're working on that, and you may come to a conclusion that this theory has become obsolete. Right? I can give you the example. For law, Hofeld का concept सबको पता है, rights and duties पता है ना सबको. Power का क्या है? Correlatives बताओ power के. Contradicts, correlatives, opposites बताओ.
Liability.
If I have power, you are liable. If I have power, I'm immune. यही है ना?
Yes.
Now, as you proceed from the times of Ophir, coming to the present times, and look at the decisions of the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court evolved the concept of public accountability. What is this concept of public accountability? Totally changes what Ophir said.
With
They
power.
say, I have power, I'm responsible, I'm accountable, I am liable, against whom I exercise the power. Change हो गया ना बेटा? You change it. And similarly, when we talk about theories of punishment, how changes came? Now, can you just go by, because then here you going from general to particular. Even when we came to this concept of restorative justice, there also we have moved much forward. Restoring in a different way. It's not only restoring, it's reforming myself. It's the consent of the victim. And now this is how, because there was time when we used to talk about retributive or deterrent. Now gone are the days. For a long, long time we kept on talking about the rights of the accused. Now we started concentrating on the victim. Earlier we had only that penal concept, that if punishment is awarded, purpose is achieved. Now different purposes are there. We look at the victim's satisfaction. At the same time, we look at the rehabilitation of the. Now this comes when you evaluate, when you compare, then you can propose new models and new theories. Right? Moving further, your research objectives. Objectives सबको पता है ना, बिना एम के तो हम, मेरे को लगता है इस कमरे से भी बाहर नहीं निकल सकते. पहले एम तो करना पड़ेगा ना, कुर्सी से उठना है, जाना है, दाएं जाना है, बाएं जाना है. एम, वी हैव टू एम. तो रिसर्च तो बहुत बड़ी बात है. क्या होने चाहिए रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव्स के लिए? व्हाट विल यू टेक इनटू अकाउंट? व्हाट विल यू टेक इनटू अकाउंट फॉर योर रिसर्च ऑब्जेक्टिव्स? बताइए. क्या कंसिडर करोगे बेटा? उससे पहले क्या कंसिडर करोगे?
Research problem and research program.
Research problem as well as the existing literature. And interestingly, आपको भी अपनी सबको याद आ जाएगी PhD करते हुए. When you write your objective, many a times the first objective is to understand, to study the concept of what you are talking about. If you are not clear about the concept, what kind of research you are going to do? So this cannot be the objective of your research. That means you already know the concept. In that particular concept or that particular area, You are focusing on a particular problem, and for that purpose, your objective will be go deep into that problem, and for that purpose, you might have to compare with the past. You might have to compare with other countries. These can be your objectives, and then you keep it in your mind and your objectives you are framing, and then when you are framing your research questions, your hypothesis, and even for data collection, if you are preparing your questionnaire or if you are preparing your constructive questions for your interview, these objectives have to be kept in. ये नहीं है कि जो कुछ उसमें कुछ भी लिख दो, ऐसा नहीं होता. But this is the normal trend. We write everything to study the concept, to study the historical development. It is not necessary. Sometimes we are bound to discuss, but that has nothing to do. Suppose today you are working on some aspect of AI. History क्या करेगी उसमें? अब तो history में तो कुछ था ही नहीं. When you are working on AI, there is nothing in the history. You will create history. है ना? तो ऑब्जेक्टिव में वही लिखेंगे, क्योंकि एक्स ने जो पीएचडी की थीसिस सबमिट कर दी, वो मैंने लाइब्रेरी में जाके खोली, उसमें यही ऑब्जेक्टिव्स थे. So I wrote the same objective. So that should not be the habit. Why I am saying this? That you are pursuing PhD, you have completed PhD, then be prepared to supervise PhD. Most difficult part of the research design is framing of hypothesis, research questions. General thinking is that if it is empirical study, then hypothesis, if it is doctrinal study, research questions, but not necessary. You can prove your hypothesis even through literature, even through secondary data, depending upon the topic. If somebody is working on the journey from this particular school of law to this particular school, then also you can frame hypothesis. Is of analytical school and ought of historical school. Then if you are talking about the difference, then of course you can frame hypothesis. Right? Now, the exercise part, but we have very less time. Think of any topic and frame hypothesis. I need to know what you know about it. Because there can be very simple hypothesis with one variable. There can be complex hypothesis with more than 2, 3, 4, any number of variables. Right? Null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis. Assumption के बिना तो चल ही नहीं सकते. I don't agree with this. I go with the free mind. I go with the free mind. Done, beta? Done? You? Sahi? Topic?
My topic is media trial and its impact on judiciary. And I feel that my hypothesis is media trials are affecting the decision of judiciary.
I'm fine, but खत्म में इतने short time में short time, that is ठीक है. You are on the right path. तो उसको define तो होगा ही होगा.
My topic is gender equality, a legal study in India, and
Gender equality? क्या कह रहे हैं?
gender equality, a legal study in India.
कि कल हमने exercise की title पे legal study,
A study in India.
law से
Or
बात
an
करना.
empirical study in India.
चलो वो hypothesis की बात करो.
And my hypothesis is SDG goals cannot be achieved without achieving gender equality in India.
अब बताओ, is it matching with your title बेटा?
But I'm trying to refer to a specific part of it.
नहीं ठीक है. इसमें एक hypothesis हो सकता है फिर ये SDGs वाला.
Yes.
But it cannot be the only hypothesis.
Cannot be done.
Gender equality when you are talking about it. One will be from the angle of the constitution or law, constitution and law. Second can be, of course, that this is one of the SDGs. हाँ, पहला तो मेन तो वही रहेगा gender equality. Primary will be the next.
My topic is internal displacements in India, and my hypothesis is development projects are the main reason behind internal displacements in
You are
India.
concluding, but you cannot neither suggest, nor talk about need, nor you can be a simple statement, which is testable.
Ma'am, it can be tested like development projects are the main reason behind internal displacements in India, and my topic is internal displacements in India. So there might be other reasons also for internal displacement. For example, climate induced.
आपको बनाने पड़ेंगे ना.
Yes.
Because merely, फिर तो आपको उतने पे confine करोगे आप. That means you are confining only to one reason.
Yes.
And there must be multiple reasons.
Yes, ma'am, I can frame other hypotheses also.
So next.
Basing my hypothesis on the topic we framed yesterday, laws relating to reproductive rights in India, comparative analysis with the USA. Hypothesis stands as provisions of the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act are inefficient in providing women in India complete autonomy over their bodies.
एक hypothesis तो ठीक है चलिए
My topic is evaluation of rehabilitation.
हाँ वो तो ठीक है can be वो
हाँ.
जन्म था
Yeah. My topic is evaluation of rehabilitation programs for female prisoners in India, in Indian prisons. And the hypothesis is whether tailored rehabilitation programs in Indian prisons will lead to improved reintegration outcomes and reduce likelihood of recidivism of female inmates.
question this is research question this is research question not hypothesis not in question mark yeah? Statement simple statement अब ऐसा है कि in law we generally make simple statement if you go to psychology physiology their trend is it is expected they talk in the sense it is expected expectation may be true may not be true right
Good morning, ma'am. So my topic is intersection of caste and race, a critical study of migrant workers during COVID-19 pandemic, which we discussed yesterday. And the hypothesis is curative measures like social distancing and quarantine have spiked the already existing social inequalities in society. The sociological
दोबारा बोलो
study.
अपना टाइटल बोलो ना
Intersections of caste and race, a critical study of migrant workers during COVID-19 pandemic.
it's not matching with your title no doubt
This is the title.
no doubt this is a problem no doubt this is a problem even some people did not want to have vaccination now this is another issue can anybody be forced to get
But
the
is that a
vaccination?
social issue? That is something that it's a belief system. No, if one is not taking vaccination, that has something to do with a belief system. When it comes to social
When
issues, we
you
are discussing
talking
about.
when you are talking about say no it may be so no, here I can just give you one example example of you are from law
I have my PhD in law, international law, but I'm from an interdisciplinary background. I have my master's in international
but
relations.
you must have studied constitutional law
Yeah, not constitutional
who
law.
knows the case of Bijoy Manuel
National anthem.
National anthem.
case. What was decided by the Supreme Court? They tried to remain silent is also part and parcel of speech, freedom of speech and expression. And Supreme Court said, if they are standing in respect without singing the national anthem, no. No, here. Can you tell me whether this is an individual issue? I mean, if you have to do research, is it an individual issue? It's not. Here there is a question of conflict between religion, secularism, altruism, patriotism, and even our constitution. But different approaches are there. Can we say this is something individual? Now, decision taken in favor of some individuals may become a precedent not to be followed by communities. Okay, so focus. No, this can be one of them. Because when you are talking about, do you want to say that if you are quarantined, some caste factor emerges? Is it dependent upon some caste factor?
And this is a sociological study, it's not a legal study.
जरूरी है बाकी सबको आजादी है नहीं है ना ऐसा
This is a sociological factor that I'm talking
that's
about,
fine,
not a
beta.
legal aspect.
Beta, that's fine. Even sociological factor also, but कोई तो बेस होना चाहिए ना उसका ऐसा कहीं था जो इस कास्ट के इस कलर के इस क्रीड के इस रेस के लोग होंगे
Yes, there are
जो
empirical
पांच
studies.
पांच
There are there are empirical studies to show that they don't have access to social resources. That is why they couldn't able to follow the curative measures that was announced by WHO. So that is what the study is leading to. Not that it is made for certain communities. It's just that how resources are also important for you to follow this.
That's fine,
Yeah.
absolutely fine. I'm just coming to issue of ethics, even though very less time is left for that also we'll conclude after this. But still, can we discriminate? Can we discriminate? See, from the angle of sociology you may talk to an extent, but from legal angle I can talk about there cannot be any discrimination on this ground. If some regulatory measure is there, it is equally applicable to all. But where there can be distinction, if it is true to particular facts only. There was a peculiar situation, Article 370 was there to give special status. No peculiar situation, and it is adversely affecting the people, then we take a different decision. You understand now? Social problem you can talk, but when we are talking about impact of this COVID-19, where is the social problem? Social problem will be कोविड हुआ, बंदा ठीक हो गया, आपने अनटचेबल डिक्लेयर कर दिया उसको, इससे तो हमने मिलना ही नहीं, बायकॉट फ्रॉम कम्युनिटी बिकॉज ही हैड कोविड-19, दिस he had corona, so वो सोशल प्रॉब्लम है ना? चलिए.
So, madam, my title is Child Begging in Delhi NCR, a socio-legal study. The hypothesis: child begging in Delhi NCR is the creation of begging mafia. The next one: child begging in Delhi NCR is the result of wrong governmental policies. Child begging in Delhi NCR is a result of maladministration.
Very good input.
Good morning, ma'am. So my topic is a critical study of legal regime towards prevention of bioterrorism in India. And the hypothesis is inadequacy and inefficacy of legal mechanism towards prevention of bioterrorism leads to infringement of right to health as a fundamental right. Inadequacy and inefficacy of legal mechanism towards the prevention of bioterrorism leads to infringement of right to health as a fundamental right.
Leads to
Infringement, violation.
अच्छा, violation.
Good morning, ma'am.
That, but you will have to frame naturally more hypotheses, because this cannot be the only area which you will be studying. Next.
Good morning, ma'am. My topic is standards of protection in international investment law and its impact on the micro, small, and medium enterprises in global south. My hypotheses are: number one, international investment law standards are emerging as an organizing principle for universalizing Western flow of investments in the global south. Number two, international investment law standards are continuing to other MSMEs in global south that keep the latter at the receiving end.
पहले वाला तो ठीक है बेटा, दूसरा तो थोड़ा सा
मुझे भी
to be
लगा-
specific.
मुझे भी लग रहा है.
Next.
Words like
हाँ, मैं कल यही तो कहा, कल यही बात हमने की, जितने simple words use कर सकते हो वो करो.
Even it seems to be concluding also.
Ma'am, my topic is necessity of a court of appeal in India, a study. And I have framed two hypotheses. The first one is that the liberal construction of Article 136 of the Constitution has made the Supreme Court of India a regular appellate court, which was not the intention of the framers of the Constitution.
वो जरूरत नहीं है वो लिखने का, second part लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है.
And the second point is the introduction of a court of appeal in India between the High Courts and the Supreme Court, along with a strict construction of Article 136, will reduce the pendency of cases in the Supreme Court.
Good morning, ma'am. The same topic which I stated yesterday, the Criminal Identification Act, a critical study. My hypothesis which I framed is the Criminal Identification Act 2022 is in violation of fundamental right and the basic principle of natural justice.
दो में divide कर सकते
Good morning, ma'am. Sorry, I made a very UI hypothesis. I'm sorry for this. My area is network society in most of the cases where I work with human and non-human interaction. So I just made a small statement on this. Actor or actant network interactions tend to increase dehumanization at workplace. This workplace is very specific workplace, mostly IETS workplace. Alright, so again, actor-actant network interaction tend to increase dehumanization at the workplace.
Why you are using the word dehumanization?
When we are working, actor-actant means one is the human entity and the other is the non-human entity. So when I'm working, I'm just giving one example here. When I'm working with Google, I'm asking Google for some information. So it is not like I'm asking I'm inquiring information from railway station person. Inquiry information person. So that person would say, "Abhi to break hai, jao." Google will never say this. Right. So our negotiation, our patience, our human skill decrease with continuous interaction with the non-human actors. This is the initiation of the dehumanization character within the workplace people.
That is why I asked.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Vinny Sharma, and my topic, as yesterday we have discussed about the social movements in digital age and analysis of the role of the social media. And the hypothesis is communal violence tend to increase due to the role or the spread of the fake news by social media.
Good morning, ma'am. The thesis title is Transplantation of Human Organs Act 1994, a social legal study. And one of the hypotheses is like the Transplantation of Human Organs Act is not implemented as it expected because of the complexity of procedures involved.
See, if you simply say it's not being adequately implemented is sufficient, because then you have to find out number of reasons, because this cannot be the only reason.
That's true.
Otherwise, you will be framing number of
Hypothesis, yes, ma'am. That is what I said. That this is one of the hypotheses.
If you stop there, this is sufficient.
And point is like when we are making hypothesis on cause and effect basis, it is facilitating to test the hypothesis.
That's why
So,
then you have to frame number of.
Yes, number of hypotheses.
Like
That's
in
true.
social sciences, they do.
That's
They use all the variables to frame the hypothesis.
Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. My title is Mob Lynching in India, a Social Legal Study. And the hypothesis is the existing statutory provisions to curb the circumstances of mob lynching in India are neither sufficient nor efficient. The existing statutory provisions to curb the circumstances of mob lynching in India are neither sufficient nor efficient.
Better to use one word for sufficiency as well as efficiency. That is why we talk about the term adequacy. Adequacy, we talk about quality as well as quantity.
Good morning, ma'am. My topic is changing dimensions of insider trading regulations, a study, and hypothesis is regulatory framework of insider trading has been improved with time.
Tell your biggest concluding has improved.
Has been expanded, if I will use the word.
You can talk about adequacy, implementation. In that, of course, you can refer to that. Initially, what was the vision? How it improved? Now you say, ultimately, your conclusion is that it has improved. Then stands proved.
Then my topic is gold bond under investment law in India and Singapore, a comparative analysis. And the hypothesis is India has sufficient investment law to deal the gold bond. India have sufficient investment laws to deal the gold bond.
Next.
My topic is issues and challenges relating to forensics biology, a study. And the hypothesis in this regard is that the legal mechanism to deal with forensics biology is adequate.
Compliance, competition compliance technology will have a good level of politics of natural resources in violation of human rights and critical study. And this exploration of natural resources will result in ignorance of human rights. My topic is privacy of children in the digital age. Privacy of children.
Will violate each other. Will violate. Because they are violated. You understand the difference? You're making a statement. Will violate. You're presuming something that is 100% going to happen.
My topic is privacy. Privacy of children.
Open to others. Can you say can be protected? Can say is it protected?
Evaluation of Goa's economic state with special reference to tourism is my topic. The hypothesis is tourism in Goa has given the state economic boost.
Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, my name is Satyendra. My topic is hate crimes in India, a critical socio-legal study, and my hypothesis is hate crime is positively correlated with the right-wing ideology of the ruling party of the state. This is my first hypothesis. And second is hate crimes is associated with social factor. Here I will provide a operational definition of social factors. Then after my last hypothesis is the existing laws are not sufficient to curb the issue of the hate crime, of the prevent the issue of hate crime.
Need revision. आपने बड़े hurriedly 3-4 बना दिए.
Hello, my name is Shraddha. Currently, I am not doing PhD, but there is an issue in Maharashtra that is a social reservation issue by Maratha community.
So my topic is the social legal study of demand of reservation for Maratha community under OBC. And hypothesis is politically dominated Maratha community in Maharashtra cannot be considered as a socially and educationally backward class. And there was a Supreme Court judgment on this also.
अभी अभी हमने बात की ना, can we use can? तो पहले ये कही जा रहा है कि नहीं हो सकता, रिसर्च क्या होगी? Your mind is closed, already determined.
Another one is there was no exceptional circumstances shown to provide quota for Marathas by breaching the 50% civil limit.
Yes.
I framed the hypothesis.
थोड़ा वो mic use कर लो, पीछे से इतनी आवाज.
Good morning, ma'am. I have framed the hypothesis on my yesterday's topic, that was role of classical music.
I remember.
The hypothesis is regular exposure to classical music is expected to correlate with lower levels of test anxiety.
Very good. This is typical hypothesis for psychology. Anji beta.
Ma'am, my topic was impact of work-life balance on employees' productivity. And the hypothesis is there is a significant influence of work-life balance on employees' productivity.
Good morning, ma'am. My topic is impact of wide discretion of sentences on convicts. And my hypothesis is wide discretion in sentencing leads to unequal duration of incarceration.
Very good. Okay, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I joined a bit late, so please excuse me.
No issue, beta.
Yeah.
No issue.
So I have changed the topic from the yesterday's one. So because yesterday I did not know that it could potentially be about the PhD as well. So I concentrated on something that I am actually interested in. So the title also I am pronouncing Recidivism in Children in Conflict with Law, a Critical Study. I have mentioned the universe also, but like yesterday, at some point you said that it is unnecessary. So I have mentioned in Dongri Home, Mumbai. But
You can refer in your synopsis universe also.
So the hypothesis, I just made it on the basis of whatever I could understand. The likelihood of recidivism is linked to the effectiveness of rehabilitation program. Effective reintegration with society leads to decrease in recidivism.
बहुत बढ़िया. तीसरा ये, चौथा ये, बहुत बढ़िया.
Good morning, everyone. The topic was I selected yesterday was a study relating to extradition in national and international perspective, and on that basis, the hypothesis is the Fugitive Economic Offender Act is falling short in consonance with the public international law relating to extradition in economic offenders. Relating to economic offenders. The Fugitive Economic Offender Act is not in consonance with the public international law relating to extradition of economic offenders.
Scope of study बहुत छोटा सा हो जाएगा बेटा. हाँ वो चलो, you can frame other hypothesis also. Now we have, with the permission of your in charge, we have number of options. Stop here, this aspect, because this is the main part where we need to do exercises. We have almost completed. The research questions are left, but I can simply tell you, you can make efforts yourself. Research question, again, the test is same as is for hypothesis, and there must be a relationship between hypothesis and research questions, or in other words, research questions have to be in consonance with the hypothesis. ये नहीं है कि hypothesis कुछ है आपका, research questions कुछ और है. ठीक है? So we can come to the next topic. Just I wanted to, because I promised poem, but if time is left, on your PhD writing. That may dishearten you, that may boost you, but before that we talk about the issue of research. Now, I am not going to talk about as such because ethics are same, but I want to talk to your hearts regarding the issue of these ethics, right? Very first question is, what is research? If you want to break that what has already been searched, you are researching it. Or second is that you have certain curiosities which you want to satisfy. Third is your heart is impacted by some social issue and you want to work on it. Next is you have suffered because of lack of any regulatory measures and you want to work on it. Right? So I think the first conclusion will be your aim is very good. Right? Once the aim is good, intentions are good, you intend to work, then what should be? Your work should be original. You know what is originality? What is originality? Can anybody tell me what is originality?
When there is novelty in your ideas.
Yes, yes.
When
If something is existing, law is existing, problem is existing, already literature is there, already people have worked on that. You may agree on certain points, you may not agree. And where you don't agree or where you agree, it may not be the same justification which was given by the earlier writers. Isn't it? Then this is original. Or law is already there, you are proposing amendment in that law, that is original. There is no law as such and you are proposing a law, that is originality. And this is what is required. In fact, times have totally changed. When I did PhD, my supervisor used to say, every chapter must have a conclusion. और अब क्या है, हम कट कॉपी पेस्ट चैप्टर खत्म, लास्ट में 15-20 पेज लिख लेते हैं जिसमें 4 पैरे कंक्लूजन्स के होते हैं, 6 सजेशन के. No chapter was accepted without conclusion and suggestion. And then out of that we used to draw the last chapter. Values. My simple question. छोटे थे ना जब आप लोग एंड क्या तो भाई बहन है तो मम्मी का भी जो सबसे छोटा बच्चा होता है उससे ज्यादा प्यार होता है. एंड व्हेन यू ग्रो अप योर सिबलिंग कम्स you start feeling jealous. You start feeling jealous. इसको मम्मी क्यों इतना प्यार करती है, मुझे तो कहती है दूसरे बिस्तर में जाके सो, ये मेरे पास सोएगा जो छोटे वाला है. Then what you do? I think Akshita can tell in psychology what happens. We go back to our those infant stages. न छोटा बोलना सीखता है, वो तोतला बोलता, आप तोतला बोलना शुरू कर देते हो. बोलता कि मम्मी तभी प्यार करती है उसको क्योंकि वो ऐसे बिहेव करता है, वो टेंट्रम शो करता है. यू आल्सो स्टार्ट डूइंग द सेम बिकॉज व्हाई? बिकॉज यू थिंक दिस इज द रीजन व्हाई माय मॉमी इज लविंग हिम और हर मोर देन मी. बट दिस शुड नॉट बी इन रिसर्च. इट इज नॉट व्हाट अदर्स आर डूइंग, यू हैव टू कॉपी दैट. Where you need to, what should I say, copy with discipline. है ना? नकल भी मारिए तो अकल से मारो. That is we in fact legally talk in research. That is when we review the literature. We read so much literature, we collect so much literature, may not be required. You may not be referring to those in your footnotes or in your references, But still, you need to read a lot, starting from the concept and coming to the conclusion. Nowadays, for legal research, now it's so easy. ना ट्रांसजेंडर पे करना है तो नालसा की जजमेंट खोल लो, you get everything, everything. थोड़ा सा पैराफ्रेजिंग करो, थोड़ा मोड़ो, थोड़ा कुछ करो, and your research is ready. But originality will not be there. Say something which is lacking. So that is why we talk about research gap, which is an integral part of your research. Even when you're writing your synopsis, you have to write, you need to write, you must write. Where is the research gap? And you must have noticed, but you never bothered, you just looked at the format of any educational institution and you'll find, write the weaknesses of your research. You don't understand the value. Value is that you have to find a fault in yourself. What should have been done by you, you could not do it, or you could not even think when you planned it. Right? So I told you where you can copy and to what extent. Right? Yesterday I just referred to few things where we distinguish between common sense and your scientific research. When I talked about that is accuracy. Accuracy, we can give another name for accuracy. Say, read, find out, write down. What is truth? This is what ethically requires. Right? Now, Sanskrit also, in Vedas also, we talk about Satyena dharate prithvi, Satyena tapte ravi, Satyena vati vayuscha, sarve satyam pratishthitam. So everything is based on truth. Now what is the truth? Sun will rise every day. Earth is round, so we feel sun is going to set, so sun sets every day. Right? And this is the earth which is carrying everything on it. All plantation, human life, animal life, everything is held by this earth. This is the truth. Right? And if you remember, when we used to study English language, तो हमें क्या पढ़ाया जाता था कि जो universal truth है वहाँ द लगाना हमने. No, which is universal truth. So these are universal. This is, whether we talk about earth, or sun, or we talk about air or water, or this is truth. And everything depends upon the truth. And I tell you, when you don't want to tell truth, even whether it's your daily life or your research, तो कितनी manipulations करनी पड़ती है ना एक झूठ बोलने के लिए. You don't even forget when you come and say, "No, I receive emails. My grandmother has inspired." मैं सोचती हूँ कितनी बार और कितनी grandmothers हैं जो expire हो गई. तो ये truth तो नहीं है ना. This is against values. This is against ethics. Research में भी वही है. In fact, different methods, different rules, they talk about the same thing. Few frauds, in fact, 1830, Charles Ballard or something, I'm forgetting the name. This was on reflections on the working of science in England, something like that work. Very important work of 1830. He referred to 4 kinds of frauds. बड़ी मजेदार सिचुएशन है. फर्स्ट इज होक्सिंग. होक्स पता है क्या होता है? फैला दो कुछ भी. Fictitious. In fact, some story you are concocting, what is a fiction, and you are befooling all other researchers. नहीं ये तो ऐसे ही होता है. Is it ethically right? Then Your objective, where your heart was inclined to find out some reasons, because you know society is suffering, you are suffering. Whether that aim can be achieved. Now you understand what is the value of objectives of any study. That has direct relationship like body and soul with ethics. Then there may be forging. Forging पता है आप सबको ही पता है. Forging क्या होती है? You create. आपको डेटा कलेक्ट करना है, जरूरत ही नहीं है कहीं जाने की. कैसे करते हैं? कोई पुरानी थीसिस उठा लो, किताब उठा लो, कुछ भी उठा लो और देखो कि अच्छा अच्छा क्या करते हैं इसमें. ये मॉडल्स हैं एंड डेटा ही करना है ना उसमें. क्वेश्चनर बना लिया एक, वो लेक्चर में लगा दिया एंड बना लो. मैनिपुलेट, forging, manipulations, total manipulations. Is it ethical? Then trimming, third broad trimming. आप सब करते हैं. थोड़ी सी अकल से करोगे तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी. कट, कॉपी, पेस्ट. क्या कहते हैं, कहीं का ईंट कहीं का रोड़ा, भानुमती ने कुर्बा जोड़ा. प्लीज. That's fine. In the time of Bhanumati, but not in your time. That yes, but you can do it in a better way than what Bhanumati did. क्योंकि आपके पास तो प्रॉब्लम ही कोई नहीं है. पता नहीं कितने आपके पास ये ऑनलाइन रिसोर्सेज हैं. You with one click you find everything. 50 books, 100 books. खोलते जाओ, कट, कॉपी, पेस्ट. क्या बाद में इधर का उधर, उधर का इधर जोड़ दिया. Thank God somebody invented the software to check it. हमें तो पता ही नहीं चलता था क्या किया किसने. पता तब चलता था कि मेरे पास, I can tell you, once, in fact, sir also told this thing. Both of us were on the same stage. He was cheering, I was co-chairing long back. It's about 25 years back. I think the first, not 25 years, first edition of our environmental law book. First edition had just come. There was a seminar on environmental law. Somebody, I'm not going to name anybody, somebody was sitting in the audience, suddenly had the realization, why can't I participate? Got up, went to the library, took that book, copied 2 pages, came and presented. Where is originality? Where are ethics? Where are objectives? It's not presentation, even if you are going to some conference. It should be your work. You may speak for 5 minutes only. You may not refer to anything. You may say, already everybody has spoken. This is the existing situations are there, laws are there, issues are there, challenges are there. This is my suggestion. That is more than sufficient. Because you need time to write some article, research paper. And trimming is also used regarding data also. Data somebody has collected. Secondary sources. Sometimes you are honest, you say this is secondary source. Sometimes you are not honest, then you collect from here, from there, collecting data and then producing the whole research work. Fourth fraud he refers to is cooking. क्या करते हैं कुकिंग में हम? तब तक टेस्टी नहीं बनता खाना जब तक कई तरह के मसाले ना डालो उसमें. भी वही करते हैं, डालते हैं उसमें. बड़ा you are honest to a particular stage. You adopt proper procedure, system, and you collect data. I don't know from where your ego comes into picture. That ego is absolutely based on your ignorance. It is not always necessary to prove your hypothesis, even if negative results are. Where lies the problem? Law is there, government is claiming that 100% eradication of this issue. You do your research, you find no, there is no 100%. Still 90% prevalence is there, your data is showing. Honestly, your data is showing, but you are afraid of something. You want to be goody with the government policies, not to take confrontation with the government. Then what you do? This is one example which is generally followed by the researchers. Then what you do? Cook करते हैं आप? कैसे cook करते हैं? Data is before you. Now there are two things. Positive side is you have to clean the data. This is mandate. You have to clean the data. Why you need to clean the data? Because there may be repetitive responses, there may be incomplete responses. Right? You have to clean the data. But this cooking does not mean cleaning. Because what you do is, you make pick and choose. This is in favor of the existing policy, so I have to be in good books of the government. So you pick up that data and discard the remaining. This is also not ethical. These are frauds, academic frauds, research frauds, which are commonly. We must have, that is why I say, not only honest, not only integrity, not only, in fact, daring, straightforward, blunt, to say whatever the data depicts. No, we have different, like Helsinki Declaration is there, Belmont Report is there, Nuremberg Code is there, APA. Now, APA, one thing, because generally everything is common in all when we talk about the ethics. One thing which I really appreciate about APA, that is competence of the researcher. Researcher's competence is very important. When we talk about research ethics, apart from other factors which we need to follow, talk about that the researcher must be competent. अब आप मुझे बताइए, आप क्यों सोचते हैं कि आप competent हैं? Let me know. Why you think you are competent to do research? क्या क्वालिटी होनी चाहिए?
Inquisitiveness.
That is very important. Being inquisitive is very important. Because you will search only when you are if you have a passion for that research. How this inquisitiveness should be used ethically? This is the question.
Commitment to exploration, like even if new circumstances arise, my loyalty is towards the research, so I wouldn't mind changing my stance also, and I should be open to learning to new possibilities also. So I think that commitment part is very important with respect to your research.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now, before I talk about, because generally same factors, same safeguards are provided by all kinds of norms which are prevalent in the world, whether be international medical organization, everywhere, because most of these ethics we find in the medical and biomedical systems. So here, if I just remind you of another Sanskrit shloka, you will find the ethics. Na chaur haryam, na rajya haryam, na bhratri bhajyam, na cha bharatam. You understand? Na chaur haryam. Nobody can steal. And this is in a reference to learning, knowledge, education. And research is associated with that. What do we say? It cannot be stolen by any thief. We say it cannot be snatched even forcibly by the ruler. No, that is why nowadays we talk about intellectual property rights. And you say, we don't feel its burden. Now this is, you need to do ethically. You should not feel a burden of research. It should be your interest. It should be your choice. Right? And भ्रातृ भाजन ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई जायदाद है जो भाइयों में बांटनी पड़ेगी. This is your own work. That is why we emphasize on originality. Now one by one, if I talk about different principles, principle of beneficence. See, in some practices, interestingly, they talk about not only beneficence but non-maleficence also. It is the one and the same thing because of emphasis. What is beneficence? Yes, yes, yes. So for the welfare of whom? For the welfare of the researcher only?
Of the society.
Yes. For the welfare of the society. For fulfilling the objective. Again, I'll say for fulfilling the objective of research. At the same time, this beneficence means that you have to take into account the welfare of the subject of research or respondent also. अब जब data collect करते हैं, the framing of questions, I'm not going to talk on that, the questionnaire, but the questionnaire should be in such a language which is easy to understand. दोबारा पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं होनी चाहिए जब क्वेश्चनर बनाते हैं. No negative flow in the question. किसी भी क्वेश्चन में आपका नेगेटिव नहीं होना चाहिए, because otherwise it may hurt anybody. And you are asking, suppose you are working on sex workers, and when you are asking the questions, then what you have to keep in your mind? Can anybody tell me? Just, I am focusing on beneficence only. What kind of questions? Forget about other awareness, knowledge, particularly of attitude part.
Clear question is not vague.
That's fine, absolutely fine.
And questions about their identity and their beliefs.
Yes, autonomy, identity, integrity, these three things have to be kept in mind. And if I tell you in certain practices, even justice, they use the term justice for ethical purposes. Why? Do you know why? Why justice? Justice is multifaceted. When you are doing research, you have to do justice to your research. You have to do justice to the society, public, and at the same time to the. Then further, when we talk about this beneficence, this justice, then comes into picture your honesty. Can you give me the example of this honesty? Very simple. Honesty is very simple. Whatever your respondent has stated in the reply, in the questionnaire, in the interview, or any other method, you are just focusing on a particular individual, only some case study is there. Be truthful, be honest to whatever has been said. Your biases should not intervene. होता क्या है? Unless, no, that is why in ethics only we talk about recording. क्यों recording? Human memory, human biases, सुनते कुछ है और बाद में लिखते कुछ है. So exact what the respondent has, this is ethically as I talked about, autonomy and integrity also. Autonomy. You cannot force upon. कोई आपको इंटरव्यू देना चाहता है दे, क्वेश्चनर भरना चाहता है भरे, नहीं भरना चाहता है नहीं भरे. Why? Because he or she has own autonomy. And that is why most of the time we prefer don't ask the name. Anonymity. Let the respondent fill up. You need the information. You don't need to know about the names. Unless and until this is a specific study. A particular class of persons. Suppose some scam is there and you want to study it, then of course. Name is in the public. There is no need for hiding the name. But general research, you cannot force it. And sometimes, especially females, कभी नहीं बताना चाहेंगी कि उनकी उम्र क्या है. So that is why, this is the reason why generally what we do is we don't ask the age. We say, then we make the columns between this to this year, this to this year. ना? Females को ध्यान में रखते हुए बनाया गया ये. So this is because of anonymity, then integrity. Some sensitive issues are there. The communal riots are there. Now we know what to do. In fact, you read Kushwant Singh's book, Truth, Love and Little Malice. Even some movies were made on these communal riots. Even when we talk about Bandit Queen. Please, here, after that, suppose you are interviewing for writing some article, then you have to keep into mind the integrity of the person whom you are interviewing. You can ask the same question. In fact, just in the morning I said, it is not always a necessary to allege something. It is not always necessary to talk in a negative language. You can ask the same, you can say the same in a positive form. So it's always better that you keep in mind the integrity of that. And we follow from that, you should avoid causing harm. Harm नहीं करना किसी को भी. And most of the times, this you can learn from even when cross-examination takes place in the court of law. Such objections are sustained by the judge when you are personally targeting the person. बात तो कोर्ट में केस चल रहा है डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस का और क्वेश्चन पूछते हो तुम तो चोर हो तुम तो ऑफिस में 4-5 चोरी करते पकड़े गए व्हाट काइंड ऑफ रिलेशनशिप इट हैज विद डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस क्या प्रूव करना चाह रहे हो. So similarly you have to focus on the cultural varieties. In this particular culture, now if you are talking to some Pardanashi female, your questions will be different. And the modern female question may be different. Mode of asking the question may be different. Your language, the kinds of courtesies you have to use, these may be different. And then male, female. Again, when you are talking to a female, then your mannerism will be different. So these are ethically, this is what is required. At the same time, the family sentiments, the religious sentiments, these have to be taken. Now, then your question may be, if violated, I'm just cutting short, if violated, then what? तो क्या होगा? There are many instances, I don't know whether you are aware of, for a long time this remained in the news in Kumaon University, forgetting the name, some Joshi was the Vice-Chancellor, he was from the field of science. His student, because in the science field mostly there are many a time 5, 6 authors. Student is writing, name of the guide will always be there. You are taking help of a statistician, name will be there. You are taking support of some lab attendant who helped in the and calculated for you something like that, name will be there. So mainly the article was written by his student, and what happened that number of articles he had written, then there was some letter from some professor from Harvard University that he has exactly copied. But nothing was done on the part of that Vice-Chancellor. He received those objections and letters. Then ultimately letter was written to the President of India. Inquiry was constituted. And the committee ultimately came to the conclusion, yes, there was plagiarism. And 100% plagiarism. And sometimes we think, अरे वो तो कनाडा में बैठे अमेरिका में बैठे उनको क्या पता चल रहा है तो अपने किसी भी लोकल उसमें छाप दो when you make a claim and nowadays you know सबको आपको मालूम है ना कि एक ही थीसिस भी आपकी शोध गंगा पे जाती है anybody can question it then क्या होता है सारी उम्र का आपका करियर खत्म that professor lost a job and Vice-Chancellor, even though he was not at fault, he just trusted the student. He resigned from it. Number of such situations. The Nuremberg Court का कब बना था? You know, all of you know what had happened. Now when I have talked about so many factors which need to be followed. When some general physicians made some tests on the prisoners of war, and that had negative neurological problems were emerged after that, psychological issues emerged after that. So then the issue was whether some precautions have been taken, some ethical considerations were there, whether some ethics were followed. Now this is one consequence, a number of examples in India also of this plagiarism. But then you come to know then what to do. क्या करना है उसके बाद? And I think it's not that we should wait for wrong to happen. We must have precautionary measures, preventive measures. We always, the law students always talk from the angle of prevention is better than cure. But if prevention, after prevention something happens, the redressal method must be in place. So that is why in all medical sciences, animal sciences, everywhere, it is compulsory to have these ethical and approval boards in the institution. आपका जो भी research है, आपको especially in medical research, when you have to collect the data, then it has to be approved by that board. Because they deal with not only human beings but with animals. Animal testing also, clear guidelines are there. And for human beings also, because this problem is going to worsen with the use of AI. What is going to happen? AI. Now AI surgeries are there, AI diagnostic centers are there. उसमें तो क्या होगा जो एल्गोरिथम डाल दिया उसकी बेस पे आपकी टेस्टिंग हो जाएगी may not be right अगर टेस्ट में आ गया कि आपको तो फ्ला serious disease है which is not there. Who is affected? Patient. Now, at this moment, we are not that much concerned with human errors, we are more concerned about AI errors. AI violation of ethical values. तो क्या करेंगे? Surgery wrongly done by AI, wrong testing, wrong feeding. Who's to be made liable? जिसने algorithm बनाया, सॉफ्टवेयर बनाया या जिसने यूज किया? We don't know. But I always say that at least we can have correct human touch. Now we are preparing a software. I know based not for a emotion will be there in AI also. AI will also, as she rightly said, कि क्या होता है कि भाई अगर तो बॉस से लेनी है छुट्टी तो बॉस को जाके बता सकते हो भाई बच्चा बीमार है घर में ये प्रॉब्लम होगी but I'm not feeling well I can't even sit in the office please allow me to go तो AI ने तो जो फीड कर दिया वहाँ पे इतने बजे आपका ये होगा इतने बजे ये होगा you cannot change that so ethically and another very important issue we are the best brains we find out solutions for everything. We used to do manipulations before this turned in and all these, and now we have learned even after that. I still remember in the beginning when we started with this, UGC asked for this test before the submission of PhD. Then it was so difficult, and even I can talk about myself because we were also not aware, we were getting used to it. So I still remember first my time when I was chairperson in the law department, this direction from UGC came and we started. सबसे पहले तो लड़ाई सबके साथ हुई जितने PhD scholars submit कर रहे थे they were so abusive. You are spoiling our career. Your time is over, so you are spoiling our career. Why are you testing it? Then we had to tell them, look at these guidelines. We are bound. अच्छा हमारे IT वालों को भी नहीं पता था क्या करना है. It was so difficult than what we used to do. Human touch I am talking about. Human touch is required so that we don't commit any error. We had doubt about the software also. There might be some error and look at the research scholar, we have to rewrite everything. We used to ask for from hard copy, opening every page of hard copy and looking at the software. We used to sit in a room with projector on, everything in front of us and the hard copy in front. And then coming to the conclusion. So then there was another problem. Like in the field of law, you have to quote the provisions. X. Immediately you have copied. Naturally copied. Who says we have not copied? We have copied because this is the name of the act. We have to write like this only. Name of the judgment. And sometimes you want to write something, quote something. करोगे ना कोर्ट तो अब जब when you are depending upon the judgments, the particular reference you will make. सब कुछ plagiarism में. For some time there was total chaos and dilemma. कि क्या करें? फिर ये हम लोगों की inventions है कि हमने कहा वो कोर्ट्स छोड़ देते हैं अगर उनको बोलो तो put in inverted commas. एक then specific resolution we had in our department कि we will not, even if the software is saying this is plagiarized, we know this is name of the act, we will not take it as. Now minus it. So manually we subtracted. It used to say 1%. Name of the act आगे लिखा रहता था 1%. 4 acts नाम कोड किए 1% लिखा हुआ आ गया. तो हमने कहा minus 1%. So everything we did manually. So now situations are improving. Now, what I want to say is, yes, we have to modify the system as per need, but wrongful manipulation should not be there. Positive manipulation cannot be positive, but still you can say courteously in the positive way. This you can do. Right? Any questions? I'm so sorry because I have to reach somewhere, I have to travel for a meeting. कुछ कहना चाहते हैं और अगर आप मेरी कविता सुनना चाहेंगे तो सुनाओ.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have
हाँ, please beta, please.
so ma'am, as somebody who has just started, I have two ethical dilemmas, and just let me know if my questions are immature also for the lack of experience as well. So ma'am, one thing is that you have collected good data, you have been truthful with respect to data collection and everything. Now, when there is the time for report writing, a lot of times I have experienced that people ask the researchers to tone down the findings because the report is ultimately to be submitted to some department or something. So one burning question I always have as a researcher is it that difficult? Matlab when once you reach in that, because I'm not in that position where I have to be answerable with respect to report. My job is just to write a report. So it feels a bit of misconduct on my part also if I'm toning down
Better misconception. Toning down not data but report. Tone. You don't have to play with the data, but it is play of words. Your crux, your conclusions. You know, we are talking about awareness. तो it's clear. डेटा तो बहुत बड़ा है, उससे एक आपका किसी ने बार डायग्राम बना दिया, किसी ने पाई चार्ट बना दिया, है ना, उसमें है इतना परसेंटेज ये अवेयर है, इतने परसेंटेज नहीं अवेयर है, इतने लोग हैं जिन्हें कुछ पता ही नहीं है, ठीक है ना. So you simply have to mention that in the report.
Yeah.
समझ गए ना, you don't have to play with the data.
Yeah.
It's your report, it's your competence, your efficiency, your caliber. पता नहीं, हमें तो देखो जी पढ़ाया करते थे इंग्लिश में प्रेसी राइटिंग, ये 1/3 निकाल दो इस पैराग्राफ को, 1/3 इसका निकाल के प्लस. This is what you have to do.
So when I'm talking about toning down, it is about if you have certain negative findings, so put that negative findings in such a way that it does not offend anybody. So
does not offend. Yes.
Now taking offense is a very subjective term again.
No. See, harm should not be intentionally done. And there are stages when you are framing your questionnaire. Now, I'm just confining now to data part, right? Questions should not be in negative form. Then, when you're asking somebody, when you're reporting something, don't write in negative. But if the results are negative, you can't help it.
Yeah.
If the result says increase in crime rate against women by 50% from the last year, very negative. But you have to mention that you have to be truthful, accuracy, precision. These are very, very important principles. Findings can be negative, but when again you are reporting, then language should not be negative. कैसे ना आप कंक्लूड करते हैं बेटा, then you make suggestions. Suggestion में जो कहना कहिए, negatively जरूरी नहीं होता कि negatively कहेंगे. Instead of saying government is not doing this, government is not doing this, state is not doing this, state should. This is a way of writing in a positive manner.
Another part is that especially when you are working in closed settings like a prison, so whenever you are visiting for data collection also, the subjects tend to get very hopeful. ये research आप कर रहे हो, इससे हमारा क्या फायदा होगा?
This is really very important question. Very, very important question. See, what is your territory?
Ma'am, I'm working with prison.
What is your territory when you are doing research?
I am a
you are focusing on a particular problem, framing hypothesis, and then collecting data, testing this data, making data analysis, and finally you're saying whether your hypothesis is proved or not. You, of course, you make certain suggestions out of your findings. I think the most important suggestion always is, if law is not there, need for law. Is there not adequate need for amendment? If not being implemented properly, for implementation. And in most of the cases where social issues are involved, we always point out towards creating awareness and changing the mindset of the people. है ना? तो आपने तो जो कहना कह दिया, उसके beyond आपकी jurisdiction ही खत्म होगी बेटा. I know hope is created among those whom you go. आप कहीं भी जाएंगे ऐसी जगह, आप protection homes में चले जाइए, ना, children homes में चले जाइए. They always have a hope, but you cannot cross your jurisdiction.
You are a researcher, not an activist.
हाँ, आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते ना.
Both are different.
Yeah, ना. If you then beyond researcher, you have to be whistleblower.
Your research might lead to activism, that's a different.
That depends. I tell you, many a time, I still remember, many a time, it may not awaken the legislators or the executive members from their deep slumber, but there are instances where judiciary is awakened. So this is the reason why we just started with public interest litigation. This is one of the reasons. Whole of prison jurisprudence is written out of that. ना हुआ ना, एक लेटर गई थी सर सुनील बत्रा में कि the co-prisoner is being tortured and it was accepted as writ और सारा prison jurisprudence लिख डाला. Clear?
Yes. Thank you.
Any other doubt?
Thank you.
अब से बात हम करें, ये है PhD. जब हम PhD शुरू करते हैं, PhD में लिया दाखिला क्योंकि पढ़ाई में थी चतुर. PhD में लिया दाखिला क्योंकि पढ़ाई में थी चतुर. शोध का अनुसंधान का था भूत, बुद्धिजीवी बनने को थी आतुर. बड़ी उस टाइम एक्साइटमेंट होती है. पुस्तकालय नित्य जा बैठती, पुस्तकालय नित्य जा बैठती, जान उसे मंदिर. पुस्तकालय नित्य जा बैठती, जान उसे मंदिर. रात भी घुस जाती मैं लैपटॉप के अंदर. This is what mothers and scholars do. चार धाम दर्शन का न जाने कब आएगा दिन. चार धाम दर्शन का न जाने कब आएगा दिन. छानने शुरू किए पुस्तकालय भिन्न भिन्न. आपके लिए तो बहुत आसान है. विषय एवं शीर्षक, समझा क्या? टॉपिक एंड टाइटल. विषय एवं शीर्षक नियत करना हो गया द्रौपदी का चिन्ह. रोज रोज पकड़ने पड़ते पर्यवेक्षक के चरण. सुपरवाइजर तो दंडवत किया करो जाते. विशेषज्ञों की सभा में जो खिल्ली उड़ती ना, when you appear before RAC experts, विशेषज्ञों की सभा में जब खिल्ली उड़ती, मैं खाने में भी जा न उतरती न चढ़ती. खुदा कर विषय और शीर्षक तय करने का दिन आया. खुदा कर विषय और शीर्षक तय करने का दिन आया. फिर सार पेश करने का निर्देश आया. सिनॉप्सिस सबमिशन. भूमिका तो बांध ली, साहित्य की कमी न थी. भूमिका तो बांध ली, साहित्य की कमी न थी. समस्या का बयान ही सबसे बड़ी समस्या थी. साहित्य को झोले से निकाल पढ़ती जाओ, साहित्य को झोले से निकाल पढ़ती जाओ, मगर उसकी समीक्षा न कर पाऊं. Analysis is very difficult. परिकल्पना के सपने, you know what is परिकल्पना hypothesis? परिकल्पना के सपने रात में आने लगे. परिकल्पना के सपने रात में आने लगे जब से गुरुजी कागजों के टुकड़े हाथ में थमाने लगे. जब इस हाइपोथेसिस बना के दे जाओ, फाड़ के डस्टबिन. मैं तो मैराथन जीतना चाहती थी, मैं तो मैराथन जीतना चाहती थी, मगर आरंभ रेखा पर ही कट जाती थी. This is what happens to researchers. Now, what is to be done? जिस दिन बहन जी और घोंचू बन गए, जिस दिन बहन जी और घोंचू बन गए, साल सफल हुआ चाहे वाद विवाद के खून में सन गए. साइनॉप्सिस एक्सेप्ट हो गया आपका. सोचा लंका दहन हुआ, अब सीता भी ले आएंगे. सोचा लंका दहन हुआ, अब सीता भी ले आएंगे, मगर नहीं पता था पन्नों के भवसागर में हो जाएंगे. तो सारी चीजें लिखनी है. कीबोर्ड पर उंगलियां जो चलाना किया शुरू, कीबोर्ड पे उंगलियां जो चलाना किया शुरू, यही नहीं समझ आया कहां से और कैसे शुरू करूं. मेरे पास में आते हैं मेरे, मैं शुरू कैसे करें यही नहीं समझ आ रहा. इतना सारा मटेरियल इकट्ठा हो गया हमारे पास. So that is a big problem. दिन महीने साल बीते, एक दिन की बात तो है नहीं, दिन महीने साल बीते, रिश्ते धूमिल हो गए, मिलना ही नहीं किसी से. थीसिस का जाप करते दिन रात यूं ही हो गए. डेटा इकट्ठे करते करते जूते भी घिस गए, डेटा इकट्ठा करते करते जूते भी घिस गए. डेटा विश्लेषण की प्रक्रिया में अच्छे से पिस गए, है ना. मिलता है छमाही कार्य विवरण, ये डॉक्टर संतोष को पूछना. छमाही कार्य विवरण देना और अनुमोदन मिलना. यूं ही था कि ओखली में सर दिया तो दूसरों से क्या डरना. मैं सफलता की सीढ़ी चढ़ने लगा. निकल गए, 6 मंथ निकल गई, कुछ चैप्टर्स निकल गए, मैं सफलता की सीढ़ी चढ़ने लगा ना. दिस इज अ प्रॉब्लम. अहम जो नशा उतरा था फिर से चढ़ने लगा. थीसिस जमा हुई, रिपोर्ट आई, वाइवा हुआ, उपाधि पीएचडी की मिली, बुद्धिजीवी होना महसूस हुआ. आई एम टॉकिंग टू गॉड. रब माफ करना तुम पे न कर सकी अनुसंधान, रब माफ करना तुम पे न कर सकी अनुसंधान, उसके लिए मेरी औकात को लेनी होगी एक नई उड़ान. नाउ इतना डरा दिया ना तुम्हें, अब थोड़ा सा मोटिवेट कर दो. लेखनी वीर हो कर्म वीर बनो, लेखनी वीर हो कर्म वीर बनो, पढ़ो समझो और तर्क वीर बनो. न डरो, न डरो दिल की धड़कनें बढ़ने दो, न डरो दिल की धड़कनें बढ़ने दो, जितने भी पन्ने फटे फटने दो. आंखों में आंसू की नमी जो समाएगी, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, आंखों में आंसू की नमी जो समाएगी, फिर कंप्यूटर की स्क्रीन भी ना थकाएगी. मॉइस्चर हो जाएगा ना आंखों में. चाहे डांटे सुपरवाइजर या नकारे शोध कमेटी, चाहे डांटे सुपरवाइजर या नकारे शोध कमेटी, तुम तो हो मानो सरहद पे शहीद होने को सेना बैठी. अब तो शहीद होना ही होना है. बट बी वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट, ये बलिदान व्यर्थ कभी नहीं जाता, ये बलिदान व्यर्थ कभी नहीं जाता. इसी से शोध का परचम है लहराता. याद रखना, याद रखना कमजोर नींव पे नहीं टिकती कोई इमारत. याद रखना कमजोर नींव पे नहीं टिकती कोई इमारत. कर लो जितनी कर सकते हो इल्म की इबादत. उपाधि के कालीन पे, now this is again very important, those who have completed their PhDs, उपाधि के कालीन पे आसमां पे ना उड़ पाओगे. अलादीन का कारपेट नहीं है कि उड़ जाओगे उसके ऊपर. उपाधि के कालीन पे आसमां पे ना उड़ पाओगे, ज्ञान के दीपक से ही जीवन रोशन कर पाओगे. तुम्हारी मेहनत एक दिन रंग लाएगी, एक सुर से 7 सुरों की सरगम बन जाएगी. This was regarding your PhD. Now on ethics, which you need to understand. रब ने बनाए थे नियम जब भेजा धरती पर, रब ने बनाए थे नियम जब भेजा धरती पर, मात पिता को दिया आदेश रहो संस्कार देने को तत्पर. जन्म से ले आज तक जो किया होता इन नियमों का पालन, जन्म से ले आज तक जो किया होता, इन नियमों का पालन नहीं ढूंढते फिरते अनुसंधान और शोध हेतु कोई साधन। आचार संहिता बनानी है, शोध डिजिटल हो या नॉन डिजिटल, आचार संहिता बनानी है, शोध डिजिटल हो या नॉन डिजिटल, शुद्ध करना है शोध ना। प्योर रिसर्च की बात करते हैं ना, in fact literally pure research doesn't mean this, but purity of research means this। शुद्ध करना है शोध, बनाने को इसे सफल, बात गुणों की करो या गणना की, क्वालिटेटिव और क्वांटिटेटिव, बात गुणों की करो या गणना की, शोध करो तुम, एकांत सुरक्षित रखो मेरा प्राइवेसी, दिस इज अनदर एथिकल वैल्यू। एकांत सुरक्षित रखो मेरा मगर अकेला न छोड़ो तुम। You have to give, in fact, moral support to a research scholar. Always needs, especially at the end when you are going to submit. गोपनीय रखने हैं जरूरी मेरे विचार और सूचना, confidentiality। विश्वास जीत मेरा, सूचित सहमति से पूछना, informed consent। That is why intentionally I did not talk about this. Here I have referred to confidentiality, informed consent। मेरे और अपने अस्तित्व का करना मान, this we talk about integrity, anonymity, identity, dignity। मेरे और अपने अस्तित्व का करना मान, सचेत रहना, ना हो किसी ऑनलाइन या ऑफलाइन मंच पर अपमान। मैं नहीं चाहती, now this is when you talk to your respondent, मैं नहीं चाहती मेरी सोच और विश्लेषण, मेरी सोच और विश्लेषण हो कलंकित। मैं नहीं चाहती मेरी सोच और विश्लेषण हो कलंकित, गणना में करो शामिल, ना करो मुझे प्रकाशित। Now this is another ethical value. I don't want you publish what I am saying, but you can count me. That is why I talked about anonymity. That don't ask for name. ज्ञानवर्धन तुम्हारा हक है, ज्ञान का विनाश नहीं। ज्ञानवर्धन तुम्हारा हक है, ज्ञान का विनाश नहीं। तुम्हारी सोच मोहताज है किसी और सोच की, यह विकास नहीं। We understand the meaning. When you don't acknowledge, you copy others' thoughts. What should you think? I am not dependent upon anybody else's thought. Yes, I will take it as foundation to find out whether it is correct or not. If it is correct, I will acknowledge and say I agree. If it is not correct, I'll say I disagree. Why? Then there has to be justification. रब भी तो शोध करता है विनाश कर सृजन करने को। रब भी तो शोध करता है विनाश कर सृजन करने को, मगर संवारता है, सुधारता है सभ्यताओं के पुनर्जन्म को। रब दे बुद्धिजीवियों को एक बार फिर, रब दे बुद्धिजीवियों को एक बार फिर, शायद तेरे सृजन के नियमों के उल्लंघना से ही हारते हैं। So only one, for me there is only one principle of ethic, and that is what Bhagavad Gita says, karmanev adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana। Don't bother for the result. Be very, very honest when you are doing the research. Result will be as per the truth. Anything you want to ask? कोई objection है? No, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. I have two things to share before I thank your Vice-Chancellor, Professor Nishtha. Here, in the pursuit of knowledge and learning, we all are equal. There is no senior, there is no junior, there is no elder or younger. With this objective, the purpose for us in organizing this program was, it was a very selfish purpose. We had some vague idea what to do, what we are doing. Not sure, we were not sure what we are doing is correct. Because what we were doing and we are doing in the courses, it's a new. It has not been done, it is not done there. So in a way, I wanted to learn from all of you, from my resource persons. This is, I think, it's a reading of our hope and objectives that we must lecture and the inaugural lectures. In a way, it is testifying that our hope was correct. No? With this, I thank you, ma'am, with all of my heart and on behalf of all my participants.
I don't know whether your hope is fulfilled or not, but I must tell you, everybody learns every day.
Yes.
Even when interacting with you, I had to be very alert and think, am I right? Am I wrong? And ethics are also the same. Difference between right and wrong.
Second thing, the way all of you framed and research questions and hypotheses, it is still, as man has already indicated, most of you, on the secondary level. A researcher has to jump to the first level. One thing that I found missing, that none of the topics or researchers, what topic they chose, they tried to challenge the core ideas as part of their research and formulate them accordingly, either part of hypothesis or research questions. I hope by the end of our course, we all will progress with it. Thank you.
We discussed it.
Yes.
Discussed yesterday. Area, topics, titles. We kept
So
it up.
thank you.
Thank you,
One
ma'am.
announcement, because of the fog condition, our one of the resource person who is going to deliver 2 lectures today, he will be a little late, so I will
Thank you, ma'am.
communicate it.
I think whether you